YouTube, the Golden State Warriors have been absolutely incredible to start the 2025 NBA season, currently sitting atop the Western Conference with a 12-4 record, utilizing their old moniker to perfection, and that is strength in numbers. And in this video, I'm going to explain why I believe the Golden State Warriors dynasty is still very much alive and could lead to their 5th ring in the 2025 NBA playoffs. On the agenda today in this video, we're going to talk about not only all of that stuff, but what has changed since last season with a relatively similar roster. Why are they playing so great? And how have they gone to middle of the road West team to best in the West currently in just one season? We're going to analyze their team stats as well as their player stats to kind of piece together the full story. And then also we're going to talk about the narrative of the 2024 offseason, which was, this team really needs another star. And there's actually a lot of rumors that they're still shopping for one to pair alongside Hall of Famer Steph Curry. That's been the narrative. So basically the second topic will be, do they actually need this quote unquote second offensive weapon? And can they win their 5th ring this season without one? That's all we're going to talk about in this video, folks. Strap in. It's going to be a good one, Dehave Nation. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, and check out the other videos on this channel as we upload stuff like this multiple times a week. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So first topic, what has changed about the Golden State Warriors? Why are they playing so dominant with seemingly a, kind of similar roster as last season where they were a play-in team? There isn't really one all-encompassing answer to this, in my opinion. It is a lot of things put together, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, let's just go through the player stats of the Golden State Warriors and how everybody on the roster is playing. You kind of get a broad picture of maybe some, changes from last season here and there. And, one of the big changes I see is Steph Curry not being as used, in this offensive attack as usual. He's still playing great like Steph Curry always does, but he's currently averaging 22 points per game, about 6 rebounds, about 7 assists, and about 2 steals on 4 turnovers per game. And obviously those are, all-star caliber numbers, especially when you factor in he's shooting 48% from the field and 44% from 3 on 9 attempts per game, and about 96% from the line on 3.5 attempts per game. So again, if the Warriors keep playing like this, he will make an all-NBA team. I'm not saying he's not playing great, but what I am saying is if you look at his numbers throughout the past few years, really since Klay Thompson has took a dip in his production and now left this team, Steph has had to do a lot more offensively. And you look at last season, he averaged 26 points per game. He's taking 4 less shots per game than last season, about 3 less 3-pointers. Season prior, he averaged 29, 2022, 26 points per game, and 2021, 32 points per game. All of these seasons, he is shooting a lot more shots from both the field and 3-pointer. So you might say, well, Dehave, how exactly are they winning so many games in this historically great Western Conference without Steph Curry averaging 30? That's what you would think would go into a season like this so far. And as I mentioned to start out the video, this is a strength in numbers type of Warriors team that we're seeing here. And one of the big reasons for that is Andrew Wiggins playing like Andrew Wiggins again. And what a welcome sign for a Warriors fan. I just gotta say, it is awesome to see him play like himself again. In my opinion, be one of the team's, top 3 players once again here, averaging 17 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, about a steal and a block, on excellent efficiency, 48% from the field, 41% from 3, which is again a very welcome sign on 5 attempts per game, getting to the free throw line about 4 times per game, and knocking them down at a 77% clip. And again, this is one of the big question marks and X factors going into the season for the Warriors. Is Andrew Wiggins gonna step up and be the 2022 version of himself where he was arguably their second best player on that finals run on both ends of the floor? And so clearly he is making that leap once again, and obviously justifying his contract and playing like the star caliber 2-way wing that he is, right? And so that has to be factored in as one of the biggest reasons the Warriors are playing so great. He has been absolutely amazing, and it just couldn't be more welcome for the Warriors because it seemed like the fan base was growing tired of him with his lackluster play. This season he's turned it around, has to be one of the biggest factors for their dominance. And another factor is Buddy Hield and the addition of Buddy Hield, and he has added so much dynamic type of floor spacing to this team that you really miss without Klay Thompson. But he's putting together quietly a great offensive season. Maybe not quietly because the Warriors are such a popular team, and Buddy Hield, being the prolific shooter that he is, getting a lot of attention, but he is averaging 16 points per game. And just quick side note before I get into the rest of Buddy's stats here, no one on this team is averaging over 30 minutes per game. The minutes distribution from Coach Kerr has been extremely diverse, right? Like not even Steph Curry averaging 30 minutes per game. He's averaging, to be fair, 29 9.8, but there is a lot of 20-minute guys on this team and a lot of 15-minute guys. Everybody on this roster is making use of their body and their skill set, and Buddy Hield no exception. He's 24 minutes a game, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, about a steal per game on 47% from the field, 44% from 3 on 8 attempts per game. You now have 2 of the greatest shooters of all time once again in Golden State. Even with Klay Thompson leaving, Buddy Hield steps in and just takes another role of one of the greatest shooters ever, and he is displaying that. 44% on 8 attempts is crazy, 89% from the line on 1 attempt per game. So Buddy Hield is having a really good impact on this offense, and he's allowing Steph Curry and other players to use him as a weapon. And we've seen him in the past obviously shoot exceptionally well, and this is nothing new, but he's doing it very efficiently, and he just has fit into the Warriors system so gracefully. With the movement and actions that they run, he looks like a natural. He looks like he's been there his whole career, and it's just such a great addition for them. It worked out incredibly well so far. Jonathan Kuminga, kind of doing Kuminga things, right? 23 minutes per game, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Not shooting the ball particularly well from 3, but he is, adding good offensive production to this team. 45% from the field, 30% from 3, and getting to the line at a really good rate of 4 attempts per game. Not knocking the ball down from the line exceptionally well, 61% from the line, but hey, you need somebody to get in transition, get downhill, and get to the rim, and that's what he is best at. DeAnthony Melton, unfortunately, as a Sixers fan, I was really rooting for him because, he was a really good Sixer and just a really good guy in my opinion. I thought it was going to be a big addition for the Warriors, and it appeared he was heading in that direction, but he will be out for the rest of the season. Super unfortunate. Wishing thoughts and prayers to him, his recovery, and his family. He's such an awesome two-way player, but, he was producing well until the injury, but he will be out. Now, Draymond Green has played really well this season, and shooting the ball efficiently in particular. I mean, obviously on great, all NBA defensive caliber defense, really. He, in my opinion, one of the runner-ups for defensive player of the year if the season ended right now. He's playing so good on that end, being a catalyst for this defense once again. 9 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, about a steal and a block, but, here's the kicker. Draymond shooting 43% from the field, but 43% from 3 on about 4 attempts per game, and that is excellent, shooting production from Draymond. A lot of teams, as we've seen throughout his career, are going to leave him open, let him shoot that shot, and they're really paying for it this year. He has been basically the Hall of Fame caliber player we've known him to be on both ends, but a lot of times staying out of trouble, and that's kind of another thing I think has helped the Warriors a lot with their consistency. Other players like Trace Jackson Davis, Moses Moody have chipped in good production this season as role players. I think TJD has been a great pickup last season, but this season adding a lot of stability to that 5 spot, along with Kevon Looney, who's just a monster rebounder, and averaging 4 offensive rebounds per game in 15 minutes is absolutely insane for Kevon Looney. He's just a monster on the glass, and they have a good 2-man rotation of him and TJD at the 5 spot. Moses Moody, just a really good 2-way role player. I mean, he is shooting really well, 40% from 3 on about 4 attempts per game. He's averaging 8 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist, and he's always going to give you good defense. Lindy Waters has been a good producer here, about 38% from 3 on 3 attempts per game, 6 points per game. Guys like Podziemski and Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton, while it might not always show up on the stat sheet, they're providing quality, all-around production. I think Gary Payton II has injected a lot of athleticism and high-flying, lob threat capabilities and, versatile defense as well. Podziemski has not shot well, and it's kind of been a disappointment this season, but it really hasn't mattered as they're winning anyway. If he starts to shoot and play better offensively, there's no telling how great this team can be. And Kyle Anderson, as I predicted, has been a stabilizing force at the backup 4 spot, adding a lot of IQ on both ends of the floor, just being a nice rotation piece for this team with some size and versatility on both ends. So the key takeaways here are Andrew Wiggins playing like himself again on both ends has been, such a driving force for this team's success. That will obviously need to continue for this team to keep playing well. The addition of Buddy Hield has been exceptional for their offense. I think he's provided some similar value on the outside as a Klay Thompson would, but he's doing it, like I said, so well in this Warriors system, and has provided a lot of offensive pop. When he gets in a rhythm, he's one of the most dangerous players in the league from the perimeter. Draymond Green, just being Draymond Green. I mean, he is providing all NBA first team defense for this team right now. They have basically 2 or 3 guys at every position that can be on the floor at any time and give you good production. And so in the West, which is such a toss-up, they have used their strength and depth to kind of just outplay teams throughout a 48-minute game. I mean, they have almost no weaknesses in this rotation, and everybody for the most part is doing their job and doing it well, and some of them better than you expect. The way they're sharing the basketball is amazing, and it is truly, truly a strength in numbers type of team that I think is one of the biggest reasons for their dominance this season in the loaded Western Conference, even without Steph Curry playing like the 30-point per game type of high volume type of scorer that we see him be throughout his career. And so in my opinion, that is, those few things are a lot that has changed with the Warriors. Their depth, particular production from guys like Buddy Hield, who you added in the offseason, and Andrew Wiggins as maybe the most impactful player on this team this season compared to last year. Now, let's get into the next topic, which I think is very important, right? And we're going to kind of go through, can they continue this play without adding a second star? We've heard a lot of guys around the league be named in trade conversations. We're talking about guys like Zach LaVine, Brandon Ingram, that caliber of player, right? Like kind of a borderline all-star, but a super competent offensive player, would add a lot of offensive pop and star power to this offense. As we know, the Warriors like to run a lot of system-based offense, so a star might have to adjust to that. But at the end of the day, you look down this roster, who is even the second best offensive talent on this team? It might be Andrew Wiggins, might be Buddy Hield, it might be Jonathan Kuminga. Are those guys even capable of sustaining a second option type of level of play offensively throughout a 16-game playoff run and the rest of the season in this Western Conference in general? We're going to look at their team numbers and see if this is truly something they can hang on to, this dominance in the West so far. And in my opinion, looking through the numbers myself, they can, and I'm going to explain to you why. Right now, the Warriors are currently 4th in points per game in the NBA. They're playing so great offensively. It's just a clinic every single night, and they are by far one of the more efficient teams from top to bottom in this entire league this season. And so you could say, well, they need a second star in the playoffs. When it comes down to those late game situations, it can't just be Curry. I'm not so sure about that. This is a good enough sample size, 16 games, to be able to say this is sustainable, especially the fact that they're doing it in the West and beating the type of teams that they're beating night in and night out. It doesn't seem like something that's going to come and go. They're 7th in 3-point percentage. We obviously know the Warriors are going to be great in 3-point percentage with the type of talent they like to keep on their roster, with the type of system they like to run. Currently shooting 38% from 3 over a 16-game stretch is pretty crazy. They also take the 4th most threes in the league, and as I mentioned, that is one of the names of the game for them, right? And so you'd expect that, but they're shooting at 7th in efficiency. So clearly a good balance of attempting a lot of threes and making a lot of threes. One of the things I think they could improve on, they're about middle of the pack in free throw attempts. Now, obviously, when you take so many threes, you're really relying on a lot of shooters to get fouled. And so, I think that is one of the things they could work on. That is the type of stuff that translates at home, on the road, in the playoffs, right? Free throw attempts and being able to draw fouls and, dominate the interior. It's usually a sign of good interior offense is getting good free throw attempts. And despite not being, such a great team at getting to the line, another thing I think they could really improve on, especially with the talent they have, they're currently dead last in free throw percentage at 69% across the roster. If I'm rounding up, it's 70, but that has to be better, no question. I mean, you'd like to see that improve, no doubt, especially when, the margins get a little tighter towards the end of the season, down in the playoffs. Despite me claiming that, bad free throw numbers are a sign that interior is lacking offensively, they are dominating the interior in one way, which is rebounding. They are currently 1st in the NBA in defensive rebounds per game, about 36 defensive rebounds per game in the league. That is obviously 1st in offensive rebounding. They are 3rd in the league and just by about 1 per game behind Portland and behind the Houston Rockets. Now, this is something you could say that is easily, having a big effect on them. We talk about Kevon Looney averaging 4 per game offensive rebounds, despite getting 15 minutes per game. So, when you are a team like the Warriors, this is part of their success throughout their dynasty, and you shoot so many threes and you make them at such a high rate. Offensive rebounding is your best friend because, as we all know as basketball fans, the best time to get an open three is right after an offensive rebound, and the Warriors execute that flawlessly, not just this season, but throughout their dynasty in general. Now, they are 2nd in the league in assists per game, and this is something that you could predict with seeing all the diverse minute distribution from Coach Kerr and from seeing all diverse scoring numbers, right? This is a strength in numbers type of approach, and they're sharing the basketball as well as anyone in the league, and they're just behind Denver, a 0.1 assists per game to lead the NBA with 30 a game. That is incredible numbers. And with these high assist numbers, they're also middle of the pack in turnovers per game, and so they have a great differential there. Obviously, assist to turnover ratio, super important for running an efficient offense. Quite literally about a 2 assist to turnover ratio is just really good for an NBA team. They're averaging about 15 turnovers per game, which is, just fine. It's 15th right now in the league, but it's nothing crazy. It's nothing that you'd like to avoid, or, you could improve on turnovers. Obviously, it's one of the biggest indicators of whether a team's going to win or lose, whoever wins the turnover battle. But when you average 30 assists, we average 15 turnovers, that is a really good, balance in my opinion. season, but they are high in takeaways. I mean, they have 9 steals per game at 4th in the NBA. So as long as you're causing turnovers just as much as you're doing it, I think it is, obviously a good thing, and the Warriors are doing it much more. They're 8th in the league in blocks with 5.6 per game, and they are 4th in the NBA in plus minus with 9-point differential than their opponents. That is an excellent point differential, one of the best in the league, 4th overall. Now, we've talked a big game about their offense and their distribution and why that's so impactful for their winning. We have not spent much time on their dominant defensive display this season, which is another critical piece of information when determining how good the Warriors have been, why they've been so good, and can they keep it up. The Warriors are currently 4th in the NBA in defensive rating at 106 defensive rating this season over 16 game stretch, and that puts them 4th behind the Orlando Magic, the Houston Rockets, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Pretty good company if you look at those teams' record this season, and they are just getting it done on that end of the floor so well this season. And so one of the things that I think is so important to note about this, even though they're so great offensively, one of the top 5 or so teams in the league this season by a lot of metrics, they are doing it on both ends of the floor, and that is the type of thing that makes you might not need a ton of offensive firepower, star power throughout a season, because defense is another thing that just always travels, right? That has become one of their big identities, and they're doing it at an incredible rate. 4th in the NBA in defensive rating. As I already mentioned, they're 1st in the league in defensive rebounding, 4th in the league in steals, 8th in the league in blocks. They're also 10th in the league in opponents' paint points, right? And they're allowing 46 points per game in the paint, which is 10th in the league, and not by a big margin either. I mean, the top team, OKC, has 42. And so, this is another indicator, how team fares in the paint against you night to night. Rebounds, points in the paint, turnovers, and shooting. If you can win 3 of those battles every single night, whether you're against the greatest team ever or a bottom lottery team, you're going to win, I would say, 95% of the time. The Warriors are basically winning all 4 of those things a lot of times. And so those are like the 4 keys to, translating winning basketball night to night on the road, at home, against above 500 teams or sub 500 teams. Doesn't really matter. The Warriors are taking care of business in all 4 of those regards. And I talked about this with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are doing the same thing. People are saying the Cavs are a fluke, the Warriors are a fluke. Man, I don't care who they are. I don't care who's on their roster. I don't even care how much help Steph Curry has offensively. When you take care of at least 3 of those 4 keys, again, rebounding, points in the paint, turnovers, and shooting, if you can win the battle, at least 3 of those things night to night, you are going to win 95% of games. And the Warriors are doing that exceptionally well. And that is the type of stuff I look at to see if a team can keep winning at the rate they're on and whether or not something is a fluke. This is, winning basketball across the board, on both ends, no question. And so to answer the question, I mean, there is absolutely reason to believe the Warriors are not slowing down. And as long as something crazy happens that we don't foresee with this team, I don't know how you could say, they're not going to be one of the best teams in the NBA by the end of the season, with this type of production on all 4 of those keys for me and, on both ends of the floor. I mean, the question of, do they need another star? We'll talk about here now. I honestly don't think so. And one of the reasons is because you'd have to trade a lot of, valuable talent. Could be Jonathan Kuminga, could be Brandon Podziemski, could be Andrew Wiggins, right? You got to get some of that salary off the roster if you're going to take in someone like Zach LaVine, someone like Brandon Ingram. LaVine has a max contract. Ingram will get a max contract. And so there's no question that you'd have to trade a big chunk of salary, and those guys are playing well. And so not only do you give up a lot of future assets like a draft pick, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, you also get rid of one of your best players right now in Andrew Wiggins, who is contributing to one of the top defenses in the league right now and one of the biggest pieces. And so I personally don't think the Warriors should make a trade. Now the question is not about should they, but do they need to hang banner 5 in the Steph Curry era and continue this dynasty going? I honestly don't think they need to, but this is a big if, right? And this is a massive if, actually. That is if Steph Curry can stay healthy throughout the season. That is if Andrew Wiggins can keep playing like he has, and that is if Brandon Podziemski starts to shoot the basketball better. Those are the 3 things that need to happen in order for them to have a real legitimate shot at hanging banner 5 in this dynasty era without making a trade for a second star. In my opinion, you just don't rock the boat. I mean, you're dominating the league in so many different areas of the game night to night with your massively valuable depth. And that has been the biggest thing. And so why mess with that? Why tweak that and tinker with that when it's not broken? Don't fix something that isn't broken. That's kind of my take on the second star thing. Until you see a reason to get one, I know it's the regular season and things are different in the playoffs. And it might not be so easy as this in the playoffs, but especially in the Western Conference. But man, this is a situation that I just would not mess with until I see a legit reason to. I mean, you're always looking to get better as a team, and teams that stay stagnant get worse, technically. But why in the heck would you take the deepest roster in the league and fraction off 4 of those players for what you deem to be a second star? star along with probably a draft pick and mess with this team's chemistry, which is one of the biggest reasons for the success. I just don't see it as something they need to do or that they should do. Practically, it doesn't make a lot of sense based on how they've been winning. Is big reason is their depth in their defense. You want to trade Andrew Wiggins, with that level of defense and that level of offensive play. I just don't love it. I don't love it. And, another key contributor, Jonathan Kuminga, one of the future bright spots of this team, just doesn't make a lot of sense right now. Things change by the deadline and they start moving, from first place around second place all the way to the 6th seed, then maybe it makes some changes, right? You'll have a better sample size and things happen throughout a season. I get it. But at the end of the day, my point is there's just no reason to, get a second star right now. And they absolutely can make a big legitimate push to the finals with this roster they have. If all of those three things happen, Steph Curry stays healthy, Andrew Wiggins keeps playing like he is, and Brandon Podziemski shoots better, there's no reason to think that if all those three things happen throughout the playoffs and the regular season, this team won't be in a position to have one of the best chances to hang another banner and continue the dynasty going. So in essence, the dynasty is absolutely still alive because you already have one of the best chances with the position you're putting yourself in to compete for a title. And it's really not even over until Steph Curry's gone. So the dynasty is absolutely still alive, but can they, continue it? That is the question. I think they can. And so that's pretty much it for the video, guys. I really wanted to make a video on the Warriors. They're just playing excellent basketball, typical Warriors fashion. It's just such beautiful, pretty basketball to watch, and everybody's contributing to it. It's a great time to be a Warriors fan. I wish I was. It's probably the worst time to be a Sixers fan. There's never really a great time to be a Sixers fan, but I would say now is one of the worst times you could have. Hopefully that changes, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like on it. It really helped me out. I think one of the things that helps videos, pop off and, kind of get a lot of views is people leaving likes because it pushes it into the algorithm. So if you guys could leave a like, it would mean a lot to me. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Join our community, which is Dehave Nation. We're on the road to 15K, and I put a lot of heart and soul into this, and I want you guys to be a part of it. We're going to be taking critical looks at a lot of teams and players throughout the season just like this. And so if you want to see more of them, subscribe and check out my other videos. Make sure you guys have post notifications on so you don't miss any more content when it comes out, and follow my Twitter, links down in the description. Good luck, Warriors fans. I really wish you luck for the rest of the season. It's awesome to see your team back in a position where they were in 2022, and I would imagine you guys are really happy about it. Other than that, hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today, and this has been the Golden State Warriors dynasty is still alive and well in the 2025 NBA season, and I think it'll continue to be based on the stuff I said in this video. This is your boy D-Have, and as always, peace.